Hello, this is the welcome video for College Prep Math. My name is Mr. Fallen. Sorry I'm unable to be there today. A couple of my kids tested positive for COVID, so I am going to be in quarantine. So you should be in, how do you say? You should be in good hands with either Mrs. Groover, Mr. Rickers, or Mrs. White. But I did want to kind of introduce the course to you myself, so I'm recording this video to do that. So what I wanted to let you guys know is that this math class is different. There are no due dates. You work at your own pace. You work on your own. There's no lectures. You let us know when you have questions or need help. So generally, I don't bother you. You know, if you're in class and you're working, I just wait for you to let me know when you need help. I don't want to intrude on your studying. So you cannot fail a test in this class. So I know in some classes you might try to just do good on some assignments, and then you can drop a few other ones and your grade ends up coming out okay under those circumstances. But that's not going to be possible in this class. You can't fail a test. So which sounds good, but what it means is that you keep taking it until you pass it. So you have to make sure you learn the material. You can test out of stuff you already know how to do. So in this class, we let you take a pretest to demonstrate what you already know how to do on the topic. And then those problems are selectively removed from your homework assignment. Not removed. You're given credit on your homework assignment for those problems that you were able to do correctly on the pretest. So that can cut down on the size of your homework. So again, that's not something you generally get in a math class. Usually everybody has to do every problem on every homework assignment, but not so in this class. If you already know how to do the problems, then you get a pass out of those problems on the homework. All right. So this means you determine how much work gets done and when it gets done. You must be responsible. You must be self-disciplined. You must push yourself to work hard. You cannot avoid or skip out on this class. So I get the impression with some students in some of my other classes, they like to sort of duck and hide and try to work the system a little bit, but you can't do that with college prep math. Maybe the first couple of years, some people were finding ways to work the system, but as we noticed those issues, we came up with rules to kind of clamp down on that. And so if you are thinking that you might be able to just kind of somehow finagle your way out of learning the material, you're probably not going to pass the class. I have students in college prep math that don't show up to class, and if you don't show up to class, you just don't get any work done, and you don't progress. And if you don't progress, you don't pass the class, and that's just, and there's no extra credit later in the semester that is going to bail you out of that situation. So I think sometimes I get the impression that students think, that if they don't do very well, then, I will have to go out of my way to provide other easier assignments for them to get better grades. And unfortunately, most college classes just don't work that way. So, and especially college prep math, it's very rigid. And so we're going to get into some of that, some of the structure here in this video. But you can't just skip class for the first half of the semester and then come back the last 2 or 3 weeks and expect to be able to have an opportunity to rectify the situation you're in. You just can't let yourself fall that far behind in this class. So it's important that you are attending class frequently and early on, and working hard from the beginning to make sure that you don't end up in a situation that you cannot get bailed out of by yourself or by me. So you can't squeak by in this class without learning the material. So it's important that you take every lesson seriously, every homework assignment, every topic. Try to learn it to the best of your ability. All right. So the basic structure of college prep math is there are 12 modules altogether. It's like 12 if you, it's not chapters. I hesitate to use that word, but maybe units would be a better choice. So there's 12 units in college prep math altogether. Each module consists of a pretest, which again determines what you already know how to do and gives you credit for that on the homework, so you don't have to repeat that topic on the homework. A set of homework assignments. There could be anywhere. I think Module 12 only has like 4 homework assignments. It's kind of light. I think Module 3 has like 15. It's a lot in Module 3. It might even be more than that. So it can vary, but certainly more than a few in each module. A practice test at the end of the homework that you can take to help you prepare for the post-test, which is the end of the module. Again, I hesitated to use the word chapters at the beginning because modules are not the same thing as chapters. So it's a little confusing because Module 1 is just Chapter 1, but then Module 2 is Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 combined together. So students get a little confused because they think, oh, I have to get through Chapter 2 here and then I'm on to Module 3, but you have to do Chapter 2 and 3 to get through Module 2 to move on to Module 3, which is composed of 3 different chapters. And like I said, that's a long one. So the basic rules for this class, again, there's more details that you'll kind of learn as we go. But in order to pass this class, you have to pass at least 4 modules. So that's the minimum you need to do, 4. So there are 12 modules altogether, but you don't have to do all 12 modules in one semester. It's actually kind of difficult to do that. But you have to at least complete 4 modules this semester to get a passing grade for this class. Pre and post tests must be done in the math lab. So homework you can work on anywhere that you have an internet connection where you can get onto Math Excel, but testing has to be done in the math lab under supervision. You must earn at least 80% or higher on each homework assignment in a module to unlock the post test. Right? So each homework assignment, the grade needs to be 80% or more, and that unlocks the post test for you. You must earn at least a 70% or higher on the post test to unlock the next module. So getting a 70% or higher on the post test means that you pass that module, and that allows you to move on to the next module. You must attend 4.5 hours per week in the math lab. That includes class time and lab time. Right? So class time is generally about 2.5 hours a week. It's a little different for Tuesday, Thursday classes, which means you need to come to the math lab 2 extra hours every week outside of class time. This is really critical. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later in the presentation. No cell phone use in the math lab. Cell phones are a distraction. I know it's difficult to put them away and not, interact with your phones. It's more difficult for some people than others, but we want you to be focused on math in the math lab. And you can use your cell phone to listen to music, but you can't be on your cell phone texting or watching videos or anything like that. You need to just kind of set a playlist and then put it down and just focus on math while you're in the math lab. If we see you on your cell phone too frequently, we will ask you to put it away. We have these baskets in the lab that we might put your cell phone and then the basket on top to kind of cage it off, if you will. If you continue to break that rule, we might ask you to leave the math lab and come back when you're ready to work on math. Because if you're on your phone a lot, you're not getting through the material that you're supposed to be. And we monitor the amount of time you spend in the lab, and we want to make sure that time you're spending in the lab is quality time that's directed towards math and not being occupied by other activities. You must pass all 12 modules before taking college algebra. So if you don't get all 12 modules done in one semester, which as I mentioned is a hard thing to do, that just means you'll have to take college prep math a second semester. And that's a pretty common track for a lot of students. If you do the bare minimum number of modules each semester, it could take you up to 3 semesters to get through all 12. I would recommend a goal of trying to complete at least 6 modules each semester, and that way it only takes you 2. But some of you will be able to complete all 12 modules in one semester. We do have students that do that. So once you've passed all 12 modules, that means you're ready for the college algebra material at that point. So you do save your progress. It is in your best interest to complete as many modules as possible each semester. Once you pass a module, you do not have to repeat it. So if you get through modules 1 through 4 this semester, next semester you'll start with module 5. So we save your progress for you. You've completed those 4 modules. You don't have to repeat them when you take College Prep Math again next semester. You'll just start with the last one that you left off of. Passing a module means passing the post-test for that module. If you start a module in a given semester but you do not pass it, you must start that module over again the next semester. So you'll start with the pretest on that module if you don't complete it in the previous semester. So we've had students where they do end up in that situation, unfortunately, where they get really close to the end of the module, but they don't pass the post-test. Unfortunately, when you start the next semester, you'll just have to start the module over again with the pretest. But ideally, you would have learned a lot getting through most of the module. So hopefully you can do well on the pretest, get a lot of credit on the homework, and just move through the module more quickly at that point. Notes on the post-test. This is something new we're trying out this semester. Yes, you can use notes on the test, but we do have a couple of qualifiers on that. You must take the practice test first and get at least a 70% on the practice test. So that means you might have to take it a couple times possibly to get that good of a grade. You can take the practice test multiple times, as I just mentioned. And we do ask that you limit your notes to just 1 page. So you want to selectively curate the information that you want to have on the test and make sure you can fit it to 1 page. Front and back is fine, but it needs to be 1 page only. Calculators are generally allowed, but starting with Module 3. No calculators can be used on Module 1 or Module 2. Now, sometimes we'll have students that use a calculator on the homework for Module 1 and Module 2. I generally kind of just let that go. I assume you're using it to kind of check your answers in those cases. But just keep in mind that when you take the exam, you cannot use the calculator. So you need to learn the material well enough to do the problems without a calculator as you're working through the homework. All right. Attendance, we have found over the years of doing college prep math that it correlates to the final grade that students get in the class. Meaning, the more you attend college prep math, the better outcome you have in the class. Mr. Rickers or Mrs. Groover should have some graphs to show you at this point. I didn't get a chance to include it in this presentation. But hopefully they'll show you an example of a previous semester where we show the percent of students' attendance versus their final grade in the class. And you should see about a pattern of students who make an A in this class tend to have 80% or higher attendance. Students who make a B in the class at the end of the semester tend to have like 65% or higher attendance. That's their average anyways. Shouldn't say higher. The average is about 65. Students that make a C, that one's actually kind of a little bit low, about 50%, 45% average attendance. Ds tend to have a little bit higher of an attendance average. So if students make a D, their average attendance is about 50%. And Fs will have something like 30%. So that's been pretty predictable every semester. So that shows you that attendance is it's an important factor in a student's outcomes in this class. That doesn't mean that coming to class 80% of the time automatically gets you an A. You still have to put in the work. But if you only come to class 50% of the time, chances are you might pass with a C or you might fail. I mean, that's kind of the outcomes those students tend to have. So this means in order to get like an 80% attendance, it means not only coming to class every day that it's scheduled, but also coming to the math lab for lab time for those extra 2 hours. So please make every effort to attend. Make it an important thing for you to do, because that should lead to a better outcome in the class for you, right? So how to succeed in college prep math. I've already said a lot of these things, but make every effort to put in that 4.5 hours in the math lab per week. Ask questions frequently when you need help. So don't be shy about it. That's what we're here for. Just raise your hand, and we like to help. When nobody has any questions, it's boring. I think everybody in the math lab enjoys having students or having a class where there's a lot of questions being asked. So do keep in mind that we can't just maybe, depending on the other activity in the class, but sometimes I've had students ask, can I just sit down with them one-on-one? And I've noticed Mr. Rickers does that quite a bit, but I like to make sure I'm available to help other students. So I like to kind of walk around. Plus, I'm a little bit restless, so I may not want to, sit down and help you one-on-one for like an extended period of time. But I don't mind coming back and visiting with you a dozen times or more in a given class period. Just raise your hand every time, or just kind of look up and I'll see, okay, you're looking for more help, and I'll come right back around to help you. Set goals for yourself. So our most successful students have goals in mind. They want to be done with Module 1 by this particular date, and then done with Module 2 by this particular date. We do have pacing charts, so Mrs. Groover or Mr. Ricker should point that out to you. They're usually hanging in the back of the class. They're also on Canvas, and that gives you a good idea of reasonable goals to set for yourself. So if you're wanting to get through 6 modules this semester and you're starting with Module 1, there's a pacing chart for that to let you know when you should be done with Module 1, when you should be done with Module 2, and that gives you some goals to seek out. I don't know, how do you say it? That gives you some goals to try to accomplish. All right. And if you don't quite meet your goal, don't be discouraged. Don't panic about it. Even if you fall a little bit short, if you're going for 6 modules, but you fall a little short and you only get 5, you're still in good shape. Now, if you're going for the bare minimum 4 modules and you fall a little short, then you're in a little bit of trouble. So, don't wait until the end of the semester to get serious. This is a common problem I know all of the instructors have with students that kind of blow the class off the first 8, 9, 10 weeks, take it lightly, maybe show up half the time, not really, engaged in the class. And then after midterms, which is about at the 8-week mark, as the weeks are, being, taken up, and they realize, oh, wow, the semester is going to be over in like a month or less, and I still have 3 modules left to do. If you think about it, if there's 6 weeks left in the semester and you still have 3 modules left to complete, that means you have to get a module done every 2 weeks. That's a tall order. That's challenging. And if that's something you're capable of doing, why not set that pace from the beginning? If you can get a module done every 2 weeks from the beginning, you'll have 8 modules done by the end of the semester. So, set that pace from the beginning. Don't wait till the end to get serious. It's a common occurrence that we'll have students that have 1, maybe 2 modules done, and then they wait to the last couple weeks of the semester, and they spend 10 hours a week in the lab the last couple weeks, and sometimes they end up falling short and they don't quite get that 4th module done. And I sympathize, but just don't let yourself fall into that hole. All right. Keep the cell phone put away while you're in the math lab. Cell phones, like I tell my kids, they are designed to be distracting. They are intentionally trying to steal your attention away from more important things, and it's easy to let them. So you really have to be disciplined and put that away. And every time, and there are studies that have indicated that just having your phone out, not even using it, but just having it in sight, even if it's face down and you're not even using it, but just having it in sight is a distraction and will make it more difficult for you to complete tasks. There are studies out there that show that constantly interacting with your cell phone makes you worse at completing tasks. You do worse at it. You get lower grades. You get less done. Math takes sustained focus, and you can't just like start a problem, look at your phone for text messages, go back to the problem, try to, keep working on it, pick up where you left off or whatever. You don't learn the same that way. Even if you manage to get all the way through the problem and get the answer at that point, you're not going to retain the information in the same way. You just don't learn the same way with those constant interruptions. And like I said, studies have shown that. So please keep the cell phone put away. It's a good idea to do with whatever class you're studying for, not just for math, but in the math lab especially. So, and have a positive attitude about learning. Students that tend to be successful are more positive about the time they're spending in the math lab. I get a lot of students that they'll get frustrated and be negative about it. And, that just, it makes it more difficult to, progress, if you are having a negative attitude about being in the math lab. So that's my advice. Today, what I'd like you guys to do to get started with college prep math, kind of depends what boat you're in. So some of you are here for the first time. Some of you are continuing from last semester. So I tried to organize this checklist depending on which boat you're in. Everyone today, whether you're here for the first time or not, needs to complete the checklist quiz on Canvas. This is just to make sure you understand the structure of the course, the stuff that we're kind of talking about today. If this is your first time taking college prep math, you'll need to register a MathXL account. I wish I could be there to help you guys out, but Mrs. Groover, Mr. Rickers, Mrs. White, they're all there to help you with that process if you need any help. There are some directions on Canvas for doing that if you look at the MathXL information on there. MathXL.com is the website you want to go to, so don't search for it on Google because there's another MathXL service for high school and we're not using that one. It won't work. You need to go to MathXL.com. That's the one that we're using. You'll need an access code from the bookstore. As far as I know, they're still providing those free of charge this semester. So you just need to go pick one up. Everyone, whether it's your first time taking college prep math or not, you need to enroll in our course for this semester using the course ID that's provided by me, which you can also get on Canvas, but also Mrs. Groover or Mr. Ricker should be able to provide that course ID for you. It's important that you get into the course for this semester. So notice the bottom line. Let's skip to that. Do not work in your old class from last semester. We always have one or two students fall through the cracks and they just don't show up the first week or something happens and they don't follow this process and I don't see them. And so I think, oh, they're just not, participating. They just decided to kind of quit on me already. And what ends up happening is they're actually just working on their own, but in the class from last semester. And I can't see that progress. I can't see that you're doing that. And I can't use your results from that. So it's really important that you get out of the class you were in last semester and into our class this semester using the course ID from this semester so that I can track your progress, have you in my grade book and all that good stuff, right? For the old timers, once you are in our class for this semester, I will need to unlock your next module for you. So don't panic because when you flip into our class for this semester, it's going to look like you're starting over with module 1, which again, you don't have to do. We save your progress, but we do need to manually go in and unlock that next module for you. So if you finish module 8 last semester, you are going to start with module 9 this semester, but we need to unlock it for you once you're in the correct MathXL course. So once you get enrolled in my course for this semester, if you'll let somebody know, they should be able to go into my MathXL course, unlock that module for you, and then you should be able to go ahead and take the pretest that you need to take. So once you are in MathXL and you are in the right class, everyone's first task for this semester will be to take that first pretest for whichever module that you're starting on. So ideally, with our Tuesday, Thursday classes, it'd be nice to kind of do that on the first day, get everything situated and go ahead and take that pretest. For our Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, that 50-minute window, it's kind of hard to, go through this video, which is already 25 minutes, do the checklist, get enrolled on Math Excel, and then take the pretest. So usually you'll do the pretest the second day of class. So thank you for watching this video. I'm sorry it took so long, and I'm sorry I didn't have a script in mind, so it's kind of all over the place. But I hope you found this information helpful. I look forward to working with you guys. Hopefully I'll be on campus again soon. I'm going to confer with the other math instructors to see if we can think of a good way that I can interact with you guys more often remotely until I'm out of quarantine. So we'll see if we come up with some ideas. I might try to be available through video conferencing while you're in class. I might invite you to just kind of video conference with me we use Google Meet, not Zoom, but I think the better place for you to be is in the math lab, if at all possible. So we'll figure something out after this first week. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I did not put my email address anywhere on here, but you can message me through Canvas, but it's also at dfallen@dc3.edu if you just want to send me an email directly if you have any questions or any concerns. And I look forward to getting to meet you guys eventually at some point in the near future. So have a good rest of the first week.